it's almost 4 o'clock on Monday. Really not making as much progress as I would have hoped. Basically, kind of just done small revisions to 2 effects. Spent the better part of the day on that. Trying to get to the third effect in this very effects-laden project that I'm working on. So I just stopped what I was doing though because I kind of just had an epiphany. I don't know if it really warrants the epiphany status. It's something that I really have been learning over the past 2 years, just about workflow. So for some context, this is a project that I've just been doing off the side of my desk for the better part of 2 years already, and it's ridiculous. It really was not supposed to take that long. Well, for one thing, I think I've already mentioned I have trouble kind of letting things go. So I've just been grinding through it really slowly, trying to perfect things that frankly will never be perfect because they weren't shot correctly, or we didn't have enough gear or time on the day of shooting them, or I'm just not skilled enough to take them to the next level. But what's really not helping as well is that in the all the project files, and I'm talking specifically about After Effects, but I think this applies to everything, I want to see what it looks like before I export or commit to anything. And as a result of that, I've stacked dozens and dozens and dozens of layers on layers. And if you've ever worked in After Effects, you know what I'm talking about. Your compositions can get pretty messy pretty quickly. And it's at a point now where I go back and I try and fix these things and I go, oh yeah, this is why I didn't fix them before. Basically, it takes a matter of minutes to RAM preview just seconds of video to even see the state that it's in, or whether it's working, or whether a certain motion or movement looks realistic. And it's really discouraging, and I know for me personally, I just can't hold my concentration just sitting there waiting for things to happen. I guess I'm too fidgety for that, and I end up getting distracted. So what I've sort of started doing is like rendering out little sections within each composition and layering those. But ultimately, by trying to save time initially and doing all the effects in one composition, I just have, just sort of realized just how much time I've wasted later on going back. And it's not, this is a pretty speedy computer. It should be able to handle the footage. It's just HD footage. I can't even imagine if I was trying this with 4K. It really is a workflow issue. The analogy that I would compare it to is basically like, it might feel that way that you have to run across, 3 football fields instead of just crawling through this little ditch to get to the same place. And the first time you do it, crawling through that ditch might just seem like it makes a lot of sense. But, after you've been through 25, 30 ditches, if this makes sense, you never get faster at crawling through ditches, I guess is what I'm saying. Whereas had you just exerted a little more energy and ran across those fields, by now I would be a proverbial long distance runner, and I would just be able to keep speeding and have momentum and have concentration and run through those fields. And instead, here I am, stuck in miles and miles of ditches that I've just built, one after the other. So I've sort of like charted myself this path through the swamp, and I'm regretting it now. In terms of like concrete things, I actually have got a lot better over the past 2 years in archiving projects and organizing projects and just knowing how to make After Effects work quicker, and pre-rendering and proxy rendering a lot of things to put into Premiere, and structuring it in such a way that the two play nice. But I think it's still something that I can get a lot better with as well, and I'm just realizing how much it applies to so many different things. So there's a lot of like tools that I have access to with Adobe Cloud. I was even thinking with the GH4, I've never even used the Wi-Fi capabilities. I'm always like using clunky methods to transfer footage and photographs to the computer or to my smartphone to review footage. Just taking a day out, or maybe a week, even if it takes a week, it's worth it, but just taking a day to set up all your files, all your programs, to really experiment with different workflows and find something that works. Take a day out and you'll save yourself, weeks and weeks and weeks throughout the year. So next time that I have free time to work on this project, instead of just slogging through bit by bit, I'm going to look at basically pre-rendering a bunch of universal elements that are applicable to all the projects. It's really not as fun, it's not as sexy, but it means that the next time that I work on any given project, it's going to be that much more fun and that much faster and more fluid. And I think creativity, really does thrive when you're unhindered by, waiting. Basically, anytime that your computer puts the brakes on what's in your head, I think it's really, really detrimental. It doesn't just waste time, but it can actually hurt the final results.